You know that moment when someone underestimates you so completely that it changes everything? Well, mine happened on a rainy Tuesday morning in downtown Chicago, and it cost my company their best financial analyst. I'm Madison Carter, and I've been crunching numbers for Meridian Technologies for 3 years. 3 years of 60-hour weeks, 3 years of pulling rabbits out of hats when the quarterly reports looked grim, and 3 years of watching my boss, Derek Hoffman, take credit for my work while treating me like I was fresh out of college. The morning everything changed started like any other. I was already at my desk by 7 a.m., steam rising from my coffee cup as I reviewed the preliminary budget projections for our biggest client. The numbers weren't adding up, and I'd spent the weekend identifying a critical miscalculation that could have cost us a $2 million contract. Derek strutted in at 9:30, his designer suit perfectly pressed, completely oblivious to the crisis I'd just averted. "Madison, good, you're here early," he said, not even glancing at the color-coded spreadsheets covering my monitor. "I need you to handle the Peterson account reconciliation today." "Actually, Derek, we need to talk about the Hartwell Industries contract," I interrupted, swiveling my chair to face him. "There's a major discrepancy in their Q3 projections that—" He held up his hand like he was stopping traffic. "Madison, the Peterson account is priority 1 today. Hartwell can wait." "But Derek, if we don't address this now—" "Listen," he said, his voice taking on that condescending tone I'd grown to hate. "I know you're eager to take on bigger responsibilities, but some accounts require a certain level of finesse, experience with handling pressure." I felt my stomach drop. "Meaning?" Derek adjusted his tie and looked at me like I was a child who'd asked why the sky was blue. "Meaning you're excellent at the day-to-day analysis work, but client-facing situations, high-stakes negotiations, well, those require someone who's ready for that kind of pressure." The words hung in the air like a slap. 3 years of proving myself, 3 years of saving his ass when his own calculations were wrong. And this was what I got. "So what you're saying is, I'm not ready for pressure?" I asked, my voice eerily calm. "It's not personal, Madison. You need more seasoning before you can handle the big accounts. Maybe in a few years." That's when something inside me snapped. Not dramatically, more like a circuit breaker quietly switching off. I nodded slowly, turned back to my computer, and began typing my resignation letter. "Sure thing, Derek," I said without looking up. "I'll get right on that Peterson account." He walked away, satisfied that he'd put me in my place. He had no idea that in exactly 2 weeks, he'd be facing the biggest financial crisis of his career, without me there to save him. 2 weeks' notice in corporate America is like a countdown timer on a bomb, and I was about to show Derek exactly what kind of pressure I could handle. During those final days, I meticulously documented every procedure, every shortcut, every Band-Aid solution I'd been using to keep our department running smoothly. But I also did something else. I stopped being proactive. You see, for 3 years, I'd been anticipating problems before they happened. I'd catch Derek's mistakes before they reached clients. I'd spot discrepancies in vendor contracts before they became legal issues. And I'd always double-checked his work, because his math was about as reliable as Chicago weather. But now, I did exactly what was asked of me. Nothing more. On my last Wednesday, I watched Derek approve a payment authorization that was missing 2 crucial signatures. Normally, I would have caught it. This time, I filed it exactly as he'd given it to me. Thursday morning brought an interesting development. Janet Morris, our CFO, stopped by my desk, something that had never happened before. "Madison, I heard you're leaving us," she said, her usually stern expression softened with what looked like genuine concern. "Yes, ma'am. Friday's my last day." Janet was one of those executives who'd clawed her way up from accounting, and she had a reputation for seeing right through corporate BS. She glanced toward Derek's office, then back at me. "Can I ask why? Your performance reviews have been exemplary." I chose my words carefully. I felt it was time to seek opportunities where my skills would be more valued. Something flickered in Janet's eyes. "I see. And Derek approved your transition timeline?" He seemed quite confident that the department would handle my departure smoothly. Janet nodded slowly, and I caught her glancing at the stack of complex financial models on my desk, the ones Derek didn't even know existed. "Well," she said, "I hope your next position appreciates what they're getting." Friday came with surprising fanfare. Derek actually organized a little goodbye gathering in the break room, complete with a grocery store cake that read, "Good luck, Madison," in blue frosting. "We'll miss having you around," Derek announced to the assembled crowd, "but I'm confident we've prepared you well for whatever comes next." I smiled and thanked everyone, accepting handshakes and well wishes from colleagues who had no idea what was coming. As I packed my personal items, Derek leaned against my cubicle wall. "You know, Madison, if you ever want to come back, we'd consider it. Assuming you've gained some experience handling pressure, of course." "I'll keep that in mind," I replied, sliding my last personal photo into the box. Monday morning, I started my new position at Harrison & Associates, a boutique consulting firm that had offered me a 30% raise and the title of Senior Financial Analyst. But the best part of my Monday wasn't the welcome breakfast or the corner office. The best part was the text message I received at 10:47 a.m. from my former colleague, Lisa. "Holy shit, Madison. Derek just discovered the Hartwell discrepancy you mentioned. Janet's in his office and she does not look happy. Game on." The beautiful thing about corporate disasters is that they don't happen all at once. They cascade, like dominoes falling in slow motion, each mistake triggering the next until the entire structure collapses. Lisa became my inside source, feeding me updates throughout that first week while I settled into my new role. And what updates they were. "Derek spent all of Tuesday trying to recreate your financial models," she texted me Wednesday morning. "He's been staying until midnight every night. The cleaning crew says his office looks like a hurricane hit it." I couldn't help but smile as I reviewed Harrison & Associates' latest acquisition proposal. My new boss, Patricia Harrison, had already assigned me to lead the due diligence team, exactly the kind of high-pressure, client-facing work Derek had deemed me unready for. But Derek's problems were just beginning. Thursday brought the first real crisis. That payment authorization I'd filed, the one missing 2 crucial signatures, had triggered an automatic audit flag in the system. The vendor, confused about the payment status, had contacted their legal department. Janet called an emergency meeting, Lisa reported. Derek tried to blame the filing error on miscommunication during the transition period. Janet asked him to explain what the missing signatures were for. He couldn't answer. Friday's update was even better. "The Hartwell Industries contract review is next week. Derek just realized you were the only one who understood their cost allocation model. He's been calling former employees asking if anyone knows how to interpret your spreadsheets." I was having lunch with my new team when Lisa's most explosive message arrived. "Derek just got called into Janet's office. One of the junior accountants mentioned that you used to fix Derek's math all the time. Janet wants to review every client file you touched in the past 6 months." That weekend, I treated myself to a spa day. Derek, according to Lisa, spent both Saturday and Sunday at the office, desperately trying to decode 3 years' worth of my work. Monday brought the beginning of the end. "Madison, you need to see this," Patricia said, appearing at my office door with a knowing smile. Meridian Technologies just posted a job opening for a senior financial analyst position. The posting specifically mentions crisis management and pressure situations. I pulled up the job listing on my computer. There it was, in corporate black and white, an immediate opening in Derek's department, reporting directly to the CFO. The salary range was 40% higher than what I'd been making. My phone buzzed with a text from Lisa. Derek got demoted. Janet's taking over direct supervision of financial analysis. Word is spreading that he misrepresented his team's capabilities to upper management. But the real cherry on top came Tuesday afternoon. My personal phone rang with an unknown number. "Madison, this is Janet Morris from Meridian Technologies." I nearly dropped my coffee. "Hello, Ms. Morris. How can I help you? I was wondering if you might have time for a conversation. Off the record, of course." We met that evening at a quiet restaurant downtown. Janet didn't waste time with pleasantries. "I'm going to be direct," she said over appetizers. "Derek Hoffman has created a significant operational risk for our financial department. It's become clear that much of the work attributed to him was actually performed by you." I sipped my wine and waited. The Hartwell contract situation, the vendor payment issues, the budget models that no one can interpret, they all trace back to procedures you developed and problems you prevented. "I see." Janet leaned forward. "I'm prepared to offer you a position as Director of Financial Analysis, reporting directly to me. It would mean a 50% salary increase and full oversight of client relations." "That's a generous offer," I said carefully. "Derek's position, essentially." with the authority he should have given you 3 years ago. I set down my wine glass and met her eyes. Ms. Morris, can I ask you something? Of course. Did Derek ever mention that I wasn't ready for pressure? Janet's expression hardened. He may have made some comments to that effect. I smiled. In that case, I think Derek was right. I'm not ready for that kind of pressure. Janet looked confused. I don't understand. I'm ready for much more. 6 months later, I was standing in the conference room at Meridian Technologies, leading a presentation to the board of directors about our new automated financial monitoring system, the same system I'd proposed to Derek 3 times, only to be told it was too ambitious for someone at my level. But I wasn't there as an employee. I was there as a consultant from Harrison and Associates, brought in to solve the systemic operational challenges that had plagued their financial department since a key personnel transition. Derek wasn't in the room. He'd been reassigned to a regional office in Milwaukee, where he handled small business accounts and no longer had direct reports. Janet introduced me to the board with glowing praise for the innovative solutions my team had developed. As I clicked through my presentation slides, I caught her eye and saw something that looked suspiciously like satisfaction. The beauty of this system, I explained to the board, is that it prevents problems before they become crises. It's designed for organizations that value proactive thinking over reactive management. The board approved the implementation unanimously. After the meeting, Janet walked me to the elevator. "You know," she said, "Derek still asks about you sometimes. Wonders how you're doing in your new position. How thoughtful of him. He mentioned that he always knew you had potential, but that sometimes the timing just isn't right for certain opportunities." I pressed the elevator button and turned to face her. "Ms. Morris, can I share something with you? Please." Derek was absolutely right about the timing. 3 years ago, I wasn't ready for this kind of pressure. The elevator doors opened. But not because I lacked the skills or experience, I continued, stepping inside. I wasn't ready because I was still naive enough to think loyalty and competence would be recognized and rewarded. Janet smiled as the doors began to close. And now? Now I understand that sometimes you have to create your own opportunities, even if it means letting other people discover what pressure really feels like. The elevator descended toward the lobby, carrying me away from the company that had underestimated me and toward the life I'd built by betting on myself. My phone buzzed with a text from Patricia. "How did the presentation go?" I typed back, "They approved everything. Harrison and Associates just landed a 3-year contract worth $2.8 million. Her response was immediate. "Excellent. Ready for the next challenge?" I smiled as I walked through the Meridian lobby for what would probably be the last time. The young woman at the reception desk, the same one who used to barely acknowledge me when I worked here, now nodded respectfully. "Have a great day, Ms. Carter." "Thank you. I intend to." Outside, Chicago's autumn air was crisp and full of possibilities. As I walked toward my car, I reflected on Derek's words from that rainy Tuesday morning that had changed everything. "You're just not ready for that kind of pressure." He'd been wrong about a lot of things, but he'd been right about one. I hadn't been ready for pressure. I'd been ready for so much more. And now, finally, I was living it.